I know it's hard, I know it's complicated, but I promised you I've been waiting here forever. I had a much to say, but you're not here with me, no. We're invincible, like fire in the snow. Trust me when I say you are my beautiful world, and I'm feeling it all, we should make an effort. It's true you're so far away, and it's true you don't feel the same. But if you take my hand, we can try and go back, starting from scratch. I won't let you go, no I can't let you go, 'cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go, no baby I will not, because I still believe. You're my gravity. You will never be what I expected. Different frequencies, that's why we ain't connected. You know I will make it through, I got nothing to lose but you. It's true you're so far away, and it's true I can feel the same. It's another day, you know you want me to stay, but I go my way. I won't let you go, no I can't let you go, 'cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go, no baby I will not, because I still believe. You're my gravity. You're my gravity. You're calling out my name, but the echo numbs your pain. Sorry, but more than just a shadow, I'm more than just a man. You don't care how I feel, you don't know how I feel. No, you don't know how. I wash away the sorrow till my heart can beat again. You're my gravity. No, you're my gravity. I will let you go, the only thing that I know. You were my gravity, but now I have to leave. I will let you go. Why do you feel that I want? What do you think that I want? I know how to breathe into my gravity, into my gravity, into my gravity, into my gravity, into my gravity. I know it's hard, I know it's complicated, but I promised you I've been waiting here forever. I had a much to say, but you're not here with me, no. We're invincible, like fire in the snow. Trust me when I say you are my beautiful world, and I'm feeling it all, we should make an effort. It's true you're so far away, and it's true you don't feel the same. But if you take my hand, we can try and go back, starting from scratch. I won't let you go, no I can't let you go, 'cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go, no baby I will not.
Warning: the Duracell Cup Series data file you have attempted to access is out of date. Uploading current file now.
It's a brand new car from stem to stern, and it's never been raced at these speeds.
The next gen car is opportunity.
Everything is different with the exception of like the seat, the steering wheel, and your helmet.
Unknown creates excitement.
Talking about my generation.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome here as we get set to cap off what's been an exciting race weekend here from the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Based off what we saw yesterday in the Duracell Ultra Light Series race, expect the pit road strategy game here in this one today. Getting ready for what should be an exciting 65 laps of racing here in this 24th race of the 7th season of the NNSCRA Duracell Next Gen Cup Series. Including today, only 3 races remain until we are putting together the 16 drivers, 10 via top 10, 6 via wildcard position, playoff contenders that will battle for this season's championship. Some tough tracks here on the home stretch, including today, Bristol Dirt next week, and Auto Club in 2 weeks' time, the regular season finale. Now, this racetrack, up until last year, was actually the 4th race weekend on the season. It then got swapped over here to the 24th race, making it a much more prevalent, I believe, venue down the home stretch towards drivers being able to get a last-minute playoff spot. And lest we forget, last season, this very racetrack, it was Charles Sanford who went to victory lane, and he went on later on that year to win the championship. So could we see a little foreshadowing as to who our season 7 champion is based off of who takes the checkered flag here today? I don't know. Unlikely, but you never know in this series. It's an all blue oval front row. Daniel Voiles alongside of Michael Norman. These are 2 drivers that went to victory lane multiple times last season. Voiles went to victory lane twice. Michael Norman went to victory lane 3 times. A couple of those wins were actually during the playoffs. So far this year, they both are still looking for their first victory on the season. Daniel Voiles comes into this race 40th in overall points. It's his second pole on the season, but he's got only 2 top 5s in the previous 22 races that he has been a part of. Michael Norman, on the other hand, he's running decently in the point stands. He's 16th in overall points, but he also only has 2 top 5s on the season in the 23 races he's taken part in. So both of these drivers, they are not up to the numbers that they were putting down back in season 6. They are both looking to break into victory lane for the first time here this season. Maybe they can do it here today. We'll see if track position will be important in today's race. All right, let's take a look at those playoff standings coming into today's event. A lot of your former winners have been able to make their way up into the top 10 in overall points, which makes things around the wild card position very interesting. But last week at Watkins Glen, Austin LaPlante came away with yet another great performance. Granted, he did a little bit of pit strategy to gain track position to get that good finish, but it worked out. And he is the new points leader coming into this race. That is why he is currently sitting in the number 1 seed. He's looking for those 15 regular season championship bonus points as well. He has 3 points over Rob Evans, James Qualls, Casey Hoyt, Jesse Turner, a former winner here at Atlanta, the top 5. Then you got Dylan Pote, Dustin Bolin. Dylan Young, no longer in a wild card spot since he moved back up into the top 10 in overall standings in 8th. Levi McIntyre, another former winner in the top 10 in 9th. And Keith Batson right now is 10th. So you've got a total of 6 of your previous winners up inside of the top 10. That means that if you look at your wild card positioning, Connor Breton, 3-time winner, is in the number 1 seed for the wild card drivers. Will Goss, who dropped out of the top 10 last week, now falls into the 2nd seed with Jessica Shelton in the 3rd seed, both of them 2-time winners. Caleb Fogler, who is 15th in overall points, a former winner, and Zachary Fitzwater, 23rd in overall points, a former winner, currently hold the 4th and 5th wild card spots. And that's it for our former winners that are outside of the top 10 but inside of the top 30, which means that 11th in overall points, the highest running driver without a victory outside the top 10, would be Chris Dollerton, and he currently would hold the 6th and final wild card spot. That could change at the conclusion of this race. 3 former winners are outside of the top 30 in the standings. The driver today that has the best chance of moving back into the top 30 would be 2-time winner Matthew Rodriguez. He is currently a total of 16 points out of 30th in overall standings. That could easily be made up here today in this race. He did qualify into the field since he and Kyler Sustre were the only 2 go-or-go-home or non-charter drivers that attempted to qualify this week. Sustre, on the other hand, he currently is 41st in overall standings. He is, if I can do some quick math, 60 points below the cut line. And Nathan Ormond, who took the checkered flag last week, he's running so badly in the point stands, he's even behind Kyler Sustre, who has made 2 less starts than he has. Yeah, great run for Nathan Ormond last week, but I don't think that win was going to be enough to get him into the playoffs. He didn't even gain a spot in the standings last week with that checkered flag, and he is a total of 110 points below the cut line of 30th in the standings. That's a lot of ground to make up. I'm not sure he can do it, but he's got 3 races to work with, and maybe he can prove me a liar. We'll have to wait and see. So really, Matthew Rodriguez appears to be the only driver outside the top 30 in points coming this race that has a shot of maybe being back inside the top 30 in points. And we ended up having some very interesting silly season news drop here this weekend that we will keep you guys aware of here during the course of this race involving Matthew Rodriguez and Reggie Fogelman. But we'll get to that in just a few moments. It's time to get these drivers rolling off pit road and get this race underway. So let's go down trackside for those most famous words in motorsports.
Gentlemen, start your engine!
I'm up in the center of 1 and 2 up here, so as you're going down the back stretch into 3, it may appear to me that they're inside, but they may be just shy of that. I'll really try to stay on top of that all night, but
Right side of your screen, you see the starting lineup for today's race. 77 of Laura Chung. With a gap right there. Hopefully everything is okay on that Toyota. And keep an eye towards the rear of the field. Has she pulled down onto the apron? Oh, she has. There's something amiss on that car when she fired it up on pit road. So a tough break in the early going here for Laura Chung, and I honestly don't think mechanical problems are what you want to be having in this race, because we saw yesterday the entire race went green. I'm expecting the same thing to happen here today. So with the unlikelihood of a caution for you to be able to get back up into the hunt for this win, that is not something Laura Chung and that 77 team needed in the early going of this one. Got 4 former winners from this racetrack in the field here today. Jesse Turner was the inaugural winner back in season 1. Dylan Young. Charles Sanford, the defending winner of this race. And Carson Gum, the other former winner at this racetrack. All looking to be 2-time winners at Atlanta, as we are green, and Daniel Voiles will lead us into turn 1. Keep you updated on the 77 of Laura Chung, who has made her way onto pit road. See if they can get her back out there before the field comes around. Maybe keep her on the tail end of the lead lap. 3 wide for third. Matt Haas puts Cole Deaver in the middle. Michael Norman way up on the top side. Same for Benjamin Miles, as Voiles is going to come around and lead the first lap of the day here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Chung still sits on pit road, so she's gone a lap down. Looks like she may go more than 1 lap down. Is hard to tell exactly where they're looking on that car. Dylan Pote going to take it to the inside 3 wide. Matt Haas did have the lead. Now Poteet will take it. It looks like Poteet's going to get the bonus point for the lap led. Chung now leaving pit lane, but she's going to be at least 2 laps down to the rest of the field. RJ Bishop. Big run on the inside line there on Dylan Poteet. A lot of drivers here today looking at this racetrack as an opportunity, much like Charles Sanford did 1 season ago, to win their way into the playoffs. Remember that conglomerate of drivers I talked about last week at Watkins Glen, that if they got a victory, they were automatically in the wild card conversation? Well, it's the same deal again here this week. Carson Gum, Michael Norman, Mitchell Collins, Jose Mills, Reggie Fogelman, Ryan Butcher, Charles Sanford, even Zach Rogers now, all have a chance here today with a victory to get themselves square into the wild card conversation. As how about this, 3 wide for the lead. Anthony McCurry puts his Fortnite Squad Racing teammate Carson Gum in the middle. Kyle Matthews was way up on the top side after leading that last lap, and it'll be the Mazda McCurry that will be out in front. Now Reggie Fogelman looks to the inside. I mentioned about the fact that there's a lot of silly season news here. Reggie Fogelman announcing that he will be moving over full-time next year to Haas Racing to pilot the number 5 Toyota Camry XSE, and he will actually be getting a little taste of what is to be expected next year, as he will be running, starting at Auto Club, the next 5 races after Auto Club over for Haas Racing. Now the interesting thing in all of that is the number 24 team out of Northeast Motorsports owns the charter that Reggie Fogelman currently runs under. With making the jump over for 5 races this season to Haas Racing as Rob Evans takes the top position, he is going to be having to qualify into that Auto Club race on speed as a non-charter entry. He will also have to do the same in the following first 4 playoff races. If Reggie Fogelman wins here today, next week at Bristol, he may end up putting himself in a wild card position. I don't understand the call to go over to the team this season when you have a shot potentially of getting yourself a wild card spot in the playoffs, but consider the fact that if Reggie Fogelman gets a victory this week or next week and has to qualify into the Auto Club race, if he fails to qualify for that one, that pretty much takes him out of a playoff spot. So it's an interesting call. That was the announcement made. Subsequently, in those 5 races that Reggie Fogelman will not be in the 24 car, Northeast Motorsports will be looking for somebody to fill in to that ride. They are going to have Matthew Rodriguez behind the wheel, at least they know, for Auto Club. So Matthew Rodriguez is guaranteed to at least make 1 start here down the home stretch. Bristol Dirt still up in the air whether he's going to qualify for that race or not. I don't think we've had any other driver besides Rodriguez and Sustre declare for the entry list next week, but we'll have to wait and see about that. And if Rodriguez makes the playoffs, if he gets into the top 30 in points and gets a wild card spot, if he makes it into the playoffs, he would probably also be in the 24 for the first 4 playoff races. So he would be guaranteed in. Rodriguez, remember too, there is a ruling that we had at the beginning of the season where if a non-charter driver did manage to make it into the playoffs, they got what was going to be called a playoff waiver, where they would be locked into every race they were championship eligible for. So in the case of Matthew Rodriguez, to kind of explain that, as I'm sorry that we're not actually announcing who's taking these race leads here. Nathan Orman was out in front. Now Will Goss, 2-time winner of the season, going to the point. But the announcement for the playoff waiver is, in the case of Matthew Rodriguez, if he ends up, say, getting eliminated in the first round, he would only be chartered for the first 3 races of the playoffs. Once he is eliminated, he would then go back to the non-charter status unless he's with a chartered race team. Reese Banks now looking to the inside of Will Goss. Will trying to make his way back up into the top 10 in overall standings, not have to rely on a wild card position. Won the last time we were at a 1.5-mile racetrack at Homestead. Reese Banks, on the other hand, currently situated 12th in overall points. He and Chris Dollerton kind of duking it out for that final playoff spot on points, based off of the number of wildcard drivers we have right now that are in on victories. Chris Dollerton is 11th in overall points, and Reese Banks is 12th overall points. 3 points behind Chris Dollerton coming into this week. Kyle Matthews, former champion, back to the front again, and here comes the pole sitter back to the front in Daniel Voiles. Rob Evans, who also took a turn out in front, back up here inside of the top 3. So it looks like track position isn't necessarily super key, but it looks like if you get shuffled out, it doesn't take you very long to work your way back up to the front. Ryan Butcher there in the 78 on that inside line, the Gatorade Toyota Camry. Ryan Butcher 20th in overall points in that group of drivers I was mentioning that with a victory could easily get himself into a wild card spot. He, like Charles Samper last year, ended up getting a victory very late in the regular season to solidify himself a spot in the playoffs. Quentin Moore going to make a move here 3 wide for second position. Quentin's 26th in overall standings. I feel like we're kind of forgetting about him. If he were to win here today, he could be in the conversation for a wild card spot. Granted, he would probably be duking it out with Zachary Fitzwater for the final wild card position. That is provided Matthew Rodriguez gets up into the top 30 in the standings after this race. Austin LaPlante, the new points leader. Now he's going to edge out ahead of the driver he took the points lead from, Rob Evans, and there is the defending winner of this race, Charles Sanford, looking to double down here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Charles Sanford trying to defend his title. Now Charles comes into this race 21st in overall points. He is 51 points out of the top 10 in overall standings. So at this point in time, it looks like his best opportunity to make it into the postseason would be with a victory. And right now, out in front, got himself the bonus point for the lap led, Zachary Fitzwater. Right now battling for second with Austin LaPlante. Some potential silly season news for Zachary Fitzwater coming out here in the next couple of weeks surrounding the future of Evans Motorsports. The pole sitter again finds his way back to the bottom and back to the front. This is the 3rd time he's been able to work his way back up towards the race lead after starting from the inside of the front row. He keeps getting shuffled out, but keeps coming back, and he's bringing some blue ovals with him on that inside line. Levi McIntyre, who's up inside the top 10 in overall standings, but a former winner at Pocono. So at this point in time, Levi is looking like he could potentially, as soon as next week at Bristol Dirt, lock himself a playoff position officially. Oh, we got a spin in the back! That was one of the Joanna Atwood Motorsports cars. It was, I think, off the racing surface, though, so I don't think the caution is out. It was Joshua Osborne, and you see there are no lights on the pace car. We stay green. Osborne looping it around there on the inside of the exit of turn 2. No caution, so we'll show you what happened via the NNSCRA split cam. And Destin Bolin is going to go to the top spot. Destin Bolin right now, one of 4 drivers that are inside of the top 10 in overall standings without a victory. Last year made his way into the playoffs with 3 victories during the regular season, but has been very consistent here. 91 points out of the points lead and 38 points ahead of the 10th in the standings cut line is Destin. And here comes Connor Breton, the number 1 seed for the wild card drivers, 3-time winner on the season. Breton coming into this race, again, I feel like we keep talking about this, where 1 week he's in a good position, the following week is he needs points. This is the week of he needs points because he's only 18 points ahead of 30th in the standings. Trying to keep his wild card spot alive. Of course, the announcement, Connor Breton re-signing to Northeast Motorsports. Back in the number 88, it'll be the first time since William Brock that the same driver will be behind the wheel in back-to-back seasons in the 88 car. And multiple drivers behind the wheel back in season 5. And of course, last year it was the rookie Jack Dunnard. Pit road might come into play here pretty soon. The drivers in the Lights race yesterday afternoon went about 26 laps on a tank of fuel. We just crossed lap 22's completion. And pit road is going to spread things out for sure. You can see this double wide and 3 wide all the way through the pack still as Caleb Vogler takes a look for the race lead on Connor Breton. We're not going to have this pack racing once we have drivers diving onto pit lane. You're going to have probably little packs here and there that will try to formulate into a big pack once again. Vogler got that lap led, by the way. Caleb Vogler right now in the 4th wild card position, the highest running of the one-time winners that are outside of the top 10 but inside of the top 30 in overall standings. And there's Zach Rogers. A resurgence for the multiple-time Final Four contender for the championship here in Duracell Cup competition. That was back during the days that he ran for Bulldog Motorsports, though. Rogers, if you told me the beginning of the season, if you told me at the All-Star break that he still had a shot for the championship, I would have told you were crazy. But the runs he has had the last couple of weeks, Zach Rogers, who was down around 38th, 39th, 40th in overall points for about 2/3 of this regular season, now finds himself 24th in overall standings. He gained 4 spots last week at Watkins Glen. He currently finds himself 21 points ahead of the 30th in standings cut line. And if he goes to victory lane, I don't think he can get into the top 10 in points mathematically. That's not a thing that's going to happen. But he could get a victory or two before the close of this regular season, and just like that, jump into a wild card spot. And if that is the case, then you could have all 3 of the Evans Motorsports cars represented in the playoffs. Right now, Rob Evans is obviously very much in the conversation to get in via top 10 in points, as he's been duking it out with Casey Hoyt for most of this regular season for the overall points lead. Now Austin LaPlante in that conversation, as we've documented. Zachary Fitzwater with his victory at Mid-Ohio, currently in a wild card position. So it could be a very, very good season for Evans Motorsports if Rogers can close the deal there. Anthony McCurry got that lap led. They're able to go a little bit further here on fuel in these Cup cars than they did in the Lights cars. Yet to see anybody make the dive onto pit road, and we are already past the fuel window that we saw for the Lights drivers here yesterday. The longest that a driver went was 26 laps yesterday afternoon. They are about to complete the 28th lap here on this run. Keith Batson coming into this one in a playoff spot. He is 10th in overall points coming into this race. He is the cut line driver, and a lot of hungry drivers right behind him trying to knock him out, like Dollerton and Reese Banks, Carson Gum, Will Goss, Caleb Vogler. Keith Batson last season was a multiple-time winner that got him into the playoffs. This season looking for consistency to get him in. Maybe a last-minute victory could help him out, and here we go. Pit road, about to be a busy place. Zach Rogers is coming in, along with Cody Lamas, Mitchell Collins, and several others. Joshua Osborne, who had that loop off of the exit of turn 2 on pit road ahead of these drivers. Did somebody miss pit lane? I guess not. I guess these guys just checked up for when the other drivers were pitting. I thought I saw someone slow there through 1 and 2, as if somebody had missed pit road and was running out of fuel. Keith Batson got the lap led there, and now he's going to come to pit lane. Quentin Moore will stay out an extra lap. Looked like pretty much yesterday there was a 50-50 in the undercut to the overcut, coming in as soon as you can to staying out as long as you could. Oh, gonna be some contact there between Batson and last week's winner Nathan Ormond, as Batson will look to get into his stall. No contact there between Jesse Turner and Anthony McCrory. We've seen contact on pit road cost drivers decent finishes this season at multiple tracks. As Quentin Moore, you saw there, top of your screen, coming to pit lane, and he should be the last of the drivers to cycle out this round of green flag pit stops. This might be the cycle out to the race lead, which might be Zach Rogers versus Cody Lamas. We'll have to see about that group that's leaving pit road here, where they're going to merge. Rogers going to try and get around Batson. I think that is an exchange for the race lead right there when everything cycles around. Cody Lamas trying to swing around Batson for what would end up being second, and it looks like the 99 of Levi McIntyre was back on pit road. That has to be an unscheduled pit stop for him. Try and document, if we can, why the reasoning for the second trip to pit lane. Laura Chung also there. Checking to see if maybe Levi McIntyre had stayed out a little bit longer than everybody else, but if he had, he would have cycled out to the race lead, which he did not. Scoring last time by had him in 22nd. So that is an unscheduled pit stop for driver 99, and Levi came into this race only 3 points ahead of the 10th place standings cut line, so if he drops out of the top 10, he would then fall down into a wild card spot once more. He and Caleb Fogler and Will Goss and Dylan Young, they've been very fortunate with the fact that they've been able to find victory lane here this season because they've kind of hovered back and forth. McIntyre's back on pit road. And then immediately leaves pit lane, so a stop and go or something there for driver 99. Not sure what the extenuating circumstances are in that regard, but that's not good for Levi. It's got him already a lap down. Rogers going to lose the lead to last season's winner here from this racetrack, Charles Sanford. And look who's now up into third, Kyler Sustre. Non-charter driver, former winner on the season from Las Vegas, looking for his second win on the year. Would love to get that extra victory, but even more so wants to get back up to the top 30 in points and has to make up 60 points to do so in these final 3 races. Keith Batson going to cycle into third, now looking for the lead. Then you got Cody Lamas and Rob Emmons up in this lead pack. 6 drivers currently in this lead group. All of them, with the exception of Kyler Sustre, looking for their first win on the season. Reese Banks right now in the 7th spot. Mitchell Collins right behind him in 8th, and then Quentin Moore in 9th. They're trying to catch up to this front group of 6. And then 10th place on back, big group of drivers there with Zachary Fitzwater, Matthew Rodriguez right now in the 11th spot. So good run for both of the non-charter drivers from this weekend. Sustre up in the top 5 and Rodriguez just knocking on the door of a top 10. Anthony McCrory right here as well in 11th, taking that spot, 12th from Kyle Matthews. Dustin Bolin right now battling for 13th with Matthews. Dropping Matthews back to 14th place. Dylan Young currently in the 15th spot. Another good outing for him after he gained 4 spots in the standings last week at the Glen. Matt McIntyre currently in the 17th spot. Jessica Shelton, actually that 16th for Matt McIntyre. Shelton drops back to 17th. Decent outing here for her. She's trying to stay in the top 30 in points with her 2 victories for a wild card spot. The points leader, Austin LeBlanc, going to cycle back out to around 17th, 18th place. And then Jose Mills and Will Goss, the completion of the top 20 in this second pack. Connor Breton has faded back here with this third group. Casey Hoyt also in this pack here, the 3-time winner who has dropped from the points lead down to 4th in the last couple of weeks. Chris Dollerton, who's trying to preserve that final playoff position right now, back in this group. Our pole sitter Daniel Boyles, 3-time winner Connor Breeden also back here. Matt Haas had a good qualifying effort here yesterday. And he's mired back in this group, along with last week's winner Nathan Ormond. That's back to 28th. Ryan Butcher back here with Dylan Potin in 29th and 30th. Reggie Fogelman in 31st, actually battling for 31st with the inaugural Atlanta winner Jesse Turner. 33rd is Carson Gunn. James Qualls in 34th. Cole Deaver 35th. 36th is Ryan Brommer. Caleb Fogler back in 37th. 38th place Joshua Osborne. That's after his spin. He's been able to get up here and pass Benjamin Miles, who is now the last car on the lead lap in 39th, and the leaders have the lap car of Laura Chung ahead of them, who is 2 laps down. Michael Norman in the 22 is right here as well. They actually just went around him and put him a lap down. So Norman must have had an issue on pit road. Three-time winner from last year, as Keith Batson is your current race leader. Levi McIntyre, we saw him making the multiple trips to pit road. The issue was they were unable to fuel the car, and he actually ran out of fuel. They put him behind the wall. They were not able to diagnose why they could not fuel the car. Maybe a problem with the fuel injector. And Levi McIntyre is going to suffer a DNF here this week in the 42nd position, dead last. So that will more than likely drop him out of the top 10 in points and slot him into the wildcard conversation heading into next week at Bristol Dirt. Mitchell Collins, Reese Banks, and Quentin Moore were able to close up on the lead groups, and now they're up here with 9 cars in this lead pack. Cody Lamas kind of straggling back there, lost touch, and he's trying to catch back up. So it may only be 8 cars up in this lead pack now in the conversation for the race win. Now an interesting point of note to also document, we saw most of the leaders make the dive onto pit lane at around lap 28. If that's the furthest they can go, 28, 29 laps projected, they can only make it to around lap 55, 56, 57. That puts them well short of making it the rest of the way. They're going to have to come to pit road at least one more time, and it's going to probably be in the vicinity of 10 laps to go. I said this yesterday. I felt today was going to be a pit strategy race, and it was going to be a pit strategy weekend. We saw it play out in the lights race. They were able to make it on one stop, though. Here today with the additional laps, looks like it's going to be 2 stops from green flag to checkered flag. And we have not been without incident. Laura Chung had an issue rolling off the grid. Currently 2 laps down, looking to not go a 3rd lap down right in front of the race leader, Keith Batson. Joshua Osborne had a spin off of turn 2 that did not bring out the yellow. Michael Norman currently a lap down after potentially some incident during that first round of green flag pit stops, and Levi McIntyre the only driver out of the race due to them not being able to fuel the car. Quentin Moore to the race lead. Quentin Moore looking for his 2nd victory of his career. Of course, got that victory back at Dover last season. Went coast-to-coast pole to win in what was a sweep for the 89 car that weekend. Tyler Gerda started on the pole in the showcase race. Brought home the victory, which gave Quentin Moore the subsequent pole, which he did not disappoint with, and picked up that victory. Subsequently made his way into the playoffs as well. Now Reese Banks looking to the inside of Keith Batson, who took the lead from Quentin Moore. Banks looking to go to the point. Reese Banks last year as a rookie also found victory lane. It was during the playoffs though, so he was not able to contend for the championship. Getting that victory at Talladega. Mitchell Collins, multiple-time winner on the season. We saw last week Nathan Orman be the first driver out of the Michael Norman Motorsports stables to find victory lane. Mitchell Collins now looking to make it back-to-back weeks. And Zach Rogers right there as well in the 6 car. And don't count out the defending champion Charles Sanford. He's in this lead pack also. Sounds like some traffic up ahead that the leaders may have to deal with. It's the 3-car tandem from 37th to 39th. Caleb Fogler, Benjamin Miles, and Joshua Osborne. I'm pretty impressed that Joshua Osborne, despite the spin we saw him have on the back straightaway, would manage to even close up and be able to battle cars for position at this point in time. He's still on the lead lap, on the tail end of the lead lap, and Fogler and Miles ahead of him are for positioning. So that's pretty impressive. Not sure how he closed up that ground. Maybe Fogler and Miles had problems on their pit stops or something. But Michael Norman now trying to get his lap back from Mitchell Collins. If he can get ahead of the 33 here, catch a yellow flag at the right time, he would cycle back out to the tail end of the field and be able to at least advance up in the running order in the closing stages, but now he's put in the middle 3 wide. Keith Batson back down on the bottom of the racetrack. And Kyler Sustre, we've talked about how unusual this season has been. The fact we've had the rookies go into victory lane, we've had the non-charter drivers go into victory lane. If Sustre is able to win here today, he'd be the second non-charter driver to be a multi-time winner on the season. Matthew Rodriguez, of course, the only one at this point in time, with both his victories in Crown Jewel races, the Daytona 500 and Indianapolis. About maybe 4 or 5 laps away from when these drivers are going to have to make that money stop. And Rob Evans, 1 week removed from losing the points lead to Austin LaPlante. Looking very good right now in this lead group. LaPlante is all the way back in the, well, I shouldn't say all the way back. He's actually made some pretty good ground up, has LaPlante. He's up to 11th place. The last time we looked, LaPlante was back around 18th, 19th. And there he is up at the front of this group, which did manage to reel in Cody Lamas. So Cody now is at least in a pack, but he's not up in the lead pack after he lost touch with them. And can anybody from this group make up ground on the first group? Last time by, they were about 6.5 seconds behind the race leader. Is there an undercut strategy to be able to gain ground? Can they be a little bit more organized coming to pit lane than this first group? Make up ground that way? I don't know. Charles Sanford to the point. Looking for back-to-back victories here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. And as I said, with where he's positioned in points, it would automatically put him into a wild card position. He's now got 2 lap cars between himself and the battle for second place as well. Maybe more importantly, he's got himself at the front of the pack, so he would have the ease of access getting onto pit lane, not having to slow up and adhere to somebody else's braking zone. Waiting to see if any hands will be out the window this time by. Doesn't look like it. If somebody's coming to pit road first, it probably would end up being the 6 of Zach Rogers. He was the first one onto pit lane during the first cycle from the race lead. If he is planning on coming to pit road, he's going to try and find his way down to the inside right now. He's been kicked up to the outer groove with Mitchell Collins and Quentin Moore, and Rob Evans kind of freight training him there. Might be trying to get to the tail end of this pack. Doesn't look like anybody's coming in this time. As Laura Chung right now 3 laps down, Michael Norman 1 lap down, and they're going to move to the inside on Charles Sanford. That's going to open up the door for somebody to be able to maybe take the race lead from the 0-3. Can Quentin Moore get there? Yes, he can. Big run there through the center of 1 and 2. Tries to pull up to that left rear quarter panel of Sanford to drag him back going into 3. And Quentin is going to not quite clear. I thought he was going to clear off of 4. Not quite going to be able to. Does get the lap led though. Got a lot of different drivers out in front here today, but Zach Rogers has led the most laps, 10 in total. Gonna wait and see, make sure that nobody pits this time by, and if they don't, then we'll take the lap opportunity to tell you your lap leaders so far today, as Quentin Moore currently showing the way. I thought he was coming in, but he was just backing off for the 22. Osborne's in the 27. So 7 laps led for Charles Sanford, 6 laps led for Keith Batson, 4 turns out in front, now 5 for Quentin Moore. 3 laps led apiece for Rob Evans, Rob Evans, Reese Banks, and Mitchell Collins, as well as Anthony McCrory and Nathan Orman. 2 laps led for Destin Bolin and Connor Breton, and then 1 lap led apiece so far for Kyle Matthews, Will Goss, Dylan Pote, Reggie Fogelman, Caleb Fogler, and Michael Norman. More drivers on pit lane. Oh, the caution is out! And Zach Rogers and Mitchell Collins just dove onto pit road. And we got more drivers coming down pit lane, and pit road is closed. You can see the red light. They're coming down taking service on a closed pit road, but they might be out of fuel. There's some cars up in the wall there off of 4. That was Carson Gum. Jesse Turner's up there. Ryan Butcher's up there. I can only assume we had a stack up maybe of drivers trying to pit And this caution is going to shake everything up. And I don't understand those other drivers, Mills and Matthews and others, coming down pit lane when clearly the red light was on, unless they feel they're going to just take the penalty because they would run out of fuel if they stayed out the extra lap. And why is Quentin Moore not coming to pit road? Why are these drivers staying out? They can't, they're going to have to pit next time around, or when we go back green. Somebody's smoking there. That's Cole Deaver in the 3. Maybe he's the reason for the caution. Might have had an engine failure over in 3 and 4. That could also just be the result of getting involved in the wreck. I'm not sure, but Cole Deaver definitely with a mechanical problem there in the Wheaties Chevrolet, and timing of this caution, very odd. We're going to have to figure out all of who is where they're going to be positioned. I don't know if Rogers and Miles and who was the other one that was on pit road with Rogers? I think it was it Sustre? There was somebody else that came down pit road with Rogers that was on the lead lap. I don't know where they're going to cycle around to. We got a lot of drivers that are out of the race, though. So let's go back and see exactly what happened. Right now, the list currently consists of Cole Deaver, Chris Dollerton, Dylan Pote, Nathan Orman, Nick Gunther, Dylan Young, Ryan Brommer. So whatever happened, it was a big wreck. And it looks like it may have started in the second pack. And it may have begun with the 21 of Matt McIntyre. Oh no, it was Kyle Matthews turning down across the nose of Matthew Rodriguez, and then watch this. Oh, then the other pack comes flying in. Dylan Young and Chris Dollerton, and then it's not over. Track still blockaded up. Pote gets Gunther. Brommer goes up and over. Turner in it. Butcher, Carson Gum. That's the one problem with green flag pit stops when the field gets spread out. If something occurs up towards the front of the field, you have the subsequent packs that come into the vicinity, and usually the track is blockaded up. Let's go back and watch this again, because I don't know if Kyle Matthews was planning on coming to pit road or what, but he just turns down across the nose of Rodriguez. He was clearly not clear on the inside. LaPlante gets a shot there with the right side of the car, and then just watch this. Gunther, Bam, Orman, Hoyt, Dollerton, Voiles, Bishop, Poteet, Turner, Brommer, Gum, Butcher. Maybe Reggie Fogelman got on the brakes quickly enough. But then apparently, and we'll show this to you via the NNSCRA split cam here as we come back to live action, but apparently Deaver was not involved in that wreck as we saw. He actually had the engine failure take place under pacing. So a tough break for him, as he was not involved in the incident. Engine ignition, the reason for the retiring for him. So it looks like Zach Rogers and I believe Jose Mills was the other driver. They managed to stay on the tail end of the lead lap. So it looks like Rogers and Mitchell Collins, actually those were the two that came down pit road together. Looks like they will maybe cycle out to the front. Quentin Moore is coming in this time. And I think RJ Bishop, no, he's staying out now. I'm not sure why he's staying out, unless he wants the lap-led bonus point. But what if we have, if this is 1 to green, he's going to have to pit when we come back to green. Yeah, he has not been to pit road. Oh, lights are out. Oh, I don't understand this call at all. Unless he thinks he can make it 2 more laps. It's going to be a 2-lap shootout when we go back green. Because RJ Bishop, was he saving enough where he can make it? Did these caution laps help him to be able to make it 3 more miles here and pick up the victory? We saw last week some incredible strategy on the part of Nathan Norman to pick up a victory that he needed with the struggling year he's had. RJ Bishop was a 2-time winner last year. He's 31st in overall points. Maybe kind of pulling a Hail Mary here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. He'll have the lap car Benjamin Miles between himself and the second place driver, which will be Mitchell Collins. Then it'll be Zach Rogers, Jose Mills, and Zachary Fitzwater. That is your top 5. Reese Banks, Cody Lamas, Matt McIntyre, Charles Sanford, and Rob Evans are going to be the top 10. We currently have 34 drivers running, 30 on the lead lap as we get ready to go back green. Our only caution up to this point here today in the closing stages, setting us up for what will be an in-regulation green-white checkered. RJ Bishop. No indication to come to pit road. He's going to risk it for the biscuit. Does he have the fuel to make it? As this time by, 2 laps to go and the green flag will be in the air. RJ up through the gears. Benjamin Miles going to get to his inside though, and Bishop might be out of fuel. That car is dropping quickly. I think he's out of fuel. He tried it, it's not going to work. Battle for the lead. Zach Rogers, Mitchell Collins. As Bishop continues to fall back, and he's going to have to find his way to the inside safely to get to pit road. Can they make it back around to the white flag as Zach Rogers clears to the top spot? Now we got some other drivers that are coming to pit lane here in the closing stages because I think of them they pit under the closed pit road, didn't they? They're serving those penalties. White flag in the air for Zach Rogers. He's got 3 car lengths back to Jose Mills, who slots into second. Matt McIntyre moved into third around Zachary Fitzwater. After the struggling start to the year for a driver that finished second in the showcase races last season. Oh, wait, Zach's slow. Mills has got to run. He's going to get to the inside. It's going to be a photo finish, but I think Zach Rogers still got him. Yes, he did. Boy, I almost gave this away too early, but Zach Rogers is going to pick up the victory, his first of the season. And Zach Rogers may have, with that, put himself in a wild card conversation. Who would have thought that after the All-Star break? At the controversy surrounding the 6 car, they needed a fill-in driver. Zach Rogers, who had 2 victories last year in the showcase races, finished runner-up to Will Goss, was tabbed to be the driver. Didn't get off to a good start, but as I mentioned, the momentum has been on his side the last couple of weeks, and Zach Rogers will pick up only his 2nd top 5, but his first victory on the season. And maybe playoff bound. We will have to wait and see. Charles Sanford, Rob Evans, Reese Banks, Kyler Sustre, Will Goss, Connor Breton, Austin LaPlante, all these drivers dived onto pit road late because they came down a closed pit road. Remember I was questioning that during the caution period of why they were pitting when clearly the red light was on. Well, they couldn't serve the penalty under caution. They had to serve a pass-through penalty as soon as we went back green, and it cost a number of drivers really decent finishes here today. I don't understand the call that they made there. But it ended up having catastrophic results, and for Austin LaPlante, it may have just lost him the points lead 1 week removed from him taking it. Though granted, Rob Evans also came down pit road for the pass-through. Could James Qualls have maybe taken advantage of that? He was 26 points out of the points lead, and he's going to finish out the day in 11th. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I fully expected this race was going to go green from start to finish, and that caution right near the end of this race definitely shook things up in the finishing results. But Zach Rogers brings it home with the victory. It's the 2nd win on the season for Evans Motorsports. Jose Mills will bring it home in 2nd. Matt McIntyre will complete the podium. Good run for him. Zachary Fitzwater will make it a 1-4 finish for the Evans Motorsports cars. It's still bring it home in that 4th spot. And Cody Lamas will finish the day out in 5th. Mitchell Collins in 6th. Jessica Shelton continues to keep herself in the playoff conversation with that wild card spot. She'll finish in 7th. Shelton could potentially have herself locked in mathematically with this 7th place run. We'll have to wait and see what the points look like. Keith Batson keeps himself in the top 10 in points, as he'll get 8th. Ryan Butcher 9th, and Caleb Fogler. Did he do enough to maybe get back up to the top 10 in points and out of a wild card spot? He'll bring it home in the top 10 position. James Qualls will be 11th. Anthony McCrory there in 12th. Matthew Rodriguez, 13th place for him. So did he get back up in the top 30 in the stands? If he did, that really shakes things up for the wild card spot. Carson Gum will finish in 14th, a track that he has formerly won at, and Matt Haas will complete the top 15. Reggie Fogelman, Destin Bolin, pole sitter Daniel Voiles, Casey Hoyt, and Jesse Turner will complete the top 20. Last two cars to finish on the lead lap were Quentin Moore and Kyle Matthews. Quentin Moore, don't understand the strategy he had. He didn't come to pit road. The lap pits were open. He came the second time, gave up all that track position. And there you see from Rob Evans on down through RJ Bishop, or actually down through Austin the Plant. Those were the drivers that came to pit road having to serve the pass-through, pitting under a closed pit road under the caution period. RJ Bishop finished the lap down as he had to come to pit road. He was out of fuel on that restart. And then Benjamin Miles, Joshua Osborne, Michael Norman all one lap down. Laura Chung 2 laps down after her issues at the very start. And a total of 8 drivers did not reach the conclusion after that big wreck we had over in 3 and 4. Cole Deaver with the mechanical issue. He was not involved in the wreck, but Dallerton, Poteet, Ormond, Gunther, Young, Brommer, and McIntyre were. That wild card position is going to get very congested heading into next week, because not only does Matthew Rodriguez have a chance of moving back up into the top 30 potentially, but Zach Rogers with the win now enters into the wild card conversation, and both Dylan Young and Levi McIntyre did not get the finishes they were looking for. They, I believe, are going to fall back out of the top 10 in the points. McIntyre was only 4 points, make that 3 points ahead of the cut line, and Dylan Young was only 7 points ahead of the cut line. So I think we're going to have about maybe 8 or 9 drivers that are going to be vying for the wild card, the 6 available wild card positions, heading into next week. Could be very, very interesting. Be sure to join us next week to see what the playoff grid actually looks like, and we'll tell you about the drivers that are just outside looking in. But that's going to do it here today from the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Zach Rogers picking up his first victory on the season, and he'll move up a little bit higher in the overall race winners, all-time race winners list. Also with this victory here, I believe it's the first time he's got a Duracell Cup Series victory in a Chevrolet. Also, his previous victories were in a Dodge when he drove for Bulldog Motorsports. But is it enough for him to battle in the playoffs this season? We'll have to wait and find out. Next week, we're getting ready to get down and dirty, as we'll be at the world's fastest half mile, but dirt covered. It's Bristol Motor Speedway with the Duracell Ultralight Series drivers and the Cup drivers. We'll have pole day qualifying and the lights race on Saturday, Cup race on Sunday in preparation for the regular season finale, the doubleheader with lights and Cup drivers at the 2-mile speedway / super speedway of Auto Club. And if you guys enjoyed today's race here from Atlanta, be sure to give us a like, subscribe to our crew today. We show you full feature results, and these are the point standings heading into Bristol next week. It's getting very interesting for the playoffs here in the Duracell Next Gen Cup Series. Next chapter gets written next week. Hope you guys join us for that. But until then, I've been Seth Cole, and you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of NNSCRA TV, offline racing at its best.